Welcome! I'm Deronda with Foods 101, and today I have a YouTube request. My loyal and faithful subscriber named Angie in Australia would like to know how to make homemade English muffins. So here it is, Angie, and the ingredients you're going to need to get this started is 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup of milk. I'm using whole milk today, but you can use 2% or 1%, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of your Rapidrise instant yeast. It's about one of these packets, and you just want to measure out 1 1/2 teaspoons, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1.5 tablespoons of honey. Now, that would be 1 tablespoon of honey plus 1 teaspoon of honey plus 1/2 teaspoon of honey, because there's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. 2 tablespoons of cornmeal and 1/2 cup of lukewarm water. Now, if you touch it, it's warm to the touch. If you touch it and you say, ouch, it's too warm. So what we're going to do first is we're going to add our yeast right into this warm water. We're going to give it a lovely little stir and set this off to the side for 5 minutes until it gets bubbly. Add your milk, your butter, that's your 2 tablespoons, and your honey into a small saucepan. And over medium heat, we're going to warm this until the butter is just melted. We don't want it to boil, we just want to warm it. So over here to the stovetop, add your salt to your flour mixture. Oops, it's a little humid today and some of that salt is stuck down in that little bowl. And then we're going to use a whisk just to incorporate that salt and flour well together, because there's nothing worse than biting into your English muffin and getting a big bite of salt. So it's really important that you really whisk this around very well. In the middle of our flour salt mixture, we're going to make a well. I use a fork, I think that's best. My butter has melted, and if I were to touch this, I'm not gonna go ouch. It's lukewarm, and now as you can see, the yeast is nice and frothy. And we're just going to pour it right in here. Now, you don't want this butter mixture too warm because it'll kill your yeast. Give this a lovely little whisking. And now here in the center of the flour, we're just going to pour all those fantastic ingredients in there. And oh my gosh, I can smell that yeast. Oh yeah. Now we're going to bring in the flour, and we're just going to incorporate it in with the wet ingredients. And as you can see, I love using a fork. When the dough is well incorporated, it's not going to stick here to the side of your bowl. So we want to keep doing this until we get it well combined. And you can see where it's pulling loose on the sides of the bowl there. That looks absolutely fantastic. Flour your surface generously. And now for the dough part, we're just going to start kneading. And that means you're going to pull up, and with this part of your hand, you're going to bring it into the center. And we're going to do this for about 4 minutes. Now, if your surface starts to get sticky, just add a little bit more flour. My 3 minutes are up, and as you can see how lovely and elasticy and smooth that is, I'm going to put a little bit more flour down here and sit it there using a tea towel. We're going to cover it and let it rest for 10 minutes. While the bread is resting, I'm taking a large baking sheet and I'm going to line it with little pieces of parchment paper. You see how I've cut them down for about 3 to 3.5 inches. And I'm going to line right here on the cookie sheet, and I'm going to sprinkle this with that cornmeal we have. And the reason I cut these little pieces of parchment paper in these little squares is I let each English muffin have its own little parchment square that's sprinkled here with the cornmeal. All right, now this is ready and we'll set it off to the side. The dough has been resting for 10 minutes. I'm shaking off that tea towel. And look how beautiful this dough is. It's a little sticky underneath there, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit more flour. because now we're going to roll it out into a 1/2 inch thick. And at the beginning of the video, I didn't tell you you would need a little extra flour, but you know, not only you're going to need the 3 cups of all-purpose flour, but you're going to need extra for dusting. I'm going to roll this out to a 1/2 inch thick. So you're going to start from the center and roll to the side. All right, it's kind of like the, oops, I'm getting far away from my camera there. It's kind of like north, south, and then east and west. Just like that. Oh my gosh, I can tell these are going to be fantastic in the way they smell. Oh my goodness, if you could be here in my kitchen. Woo! You're not going to be disappointed with these. Okay, I'm moving my camera as I roll out my dough. Now, everybody who's been watching my show over the last couple of years knows I like to use this 1/2 inch measure here on my wooden spoon. I just got out a pen, measured a 1/2 inch, and marked it. So let's come down here and we'll see. Nope, still a little too thick. Gotta roll it out just a little bit more. Trying to avoid hitting my camera there, sorry y'all. But sometimes it's just gotta happen. All right, 1/2 inch, absolutely perfect. To cut it out, I'm gonna use a 3.5 inch circle. You're gonna make sure you're gonna flour the edges because you don't want this sticking. And now we're gonna go in closest to the edge and go down. There you got it. Almost like making biscuits, but it's English muffins. And I know in Europe your biscuits are like sweets, but here in America our biscuits are like just regular bread. Okay. And there we go. And look how beautiful those are. Oh yeah. Now, just get off the excess flour on the bottom. And now over here on the cookie sheet, you're going to find you one of those little pieces of parchment paper that you've sprinkled with cornmeal, and you're just going to lie it there. And you're going to continue doing this with all of them. See, I mean, it's all right to handle it right now. They're tough because they've not been rising. And again, its own little piece of parchment. These make about 8 English muffins. You can sometimes squeeze 9 out of it. Now for the top of this, we're going to add also a little bit of cornmeal to each of your English muffins. Very simple and easy to do. Like this. And now we're going to cover this with that dry tea towel, and we're going to let this sit for 45 minutes to an hour depending on how warm or cool your house is. 45 minutes are up, and look how much our lovely English muffins have been rising. Over here to the oven top, I have a cast iron griddle heating on medium-low heat. Now, if you don't have a griddle like this, just use a heavy bottom skillet. And I know what you're thinking. You thought I was going to bake these, but an English muffin is indeed cooked on top of the stove. So here I've got one of my English muffins that I'm going to lie right here. And see, as you know, I love the little individual parchment papers we have. And then I'm going to lie them right here, and we're going to let them cook for 6 to 7 minutes per side. If your English muffins start cooking too quickly and they start getting brown, then go ahead and remove this off your heat. Let it cool down a little bit, because you definitely want these to slowly cook for anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes. And as you can see, this is a pretty durable dough, so I go ahead and shake off the excess cornmeal. And I'm going to add this back here. You want to make sure you do not overcrowd your pan, because these are going to rise a little bit more and you don't want them touching. So I'll be back in 6 minutes and we'll check on them. I've let these cook for 7 minutes, and let's see what the other side looks like. Oh yeah, look how beautiful and golden that is. And we'll just go ahead and flip them over and let them cook for an additional 7 minutes on this side. 8 minutes on this side, and you can see how lovely and golden they are. And I'm gonna lie them over here. Gonna try one of these English muffins. I'm gonna open it up like this, and oh my goodness, look how light and fluffy it is, and I've got to give it a try. A perfect English muffin, y'all. This will be great with fried eggs, sausage, cheese, or bacon and cheese, or ham and cheese. Dip it into your over easy eggs, slice them in half with a knife, put them under the broiler with a little butter, and eat them with jam and peanut butter. Of course, your favorite jam. You are not going to be disappointed with this fabulous English muffin, y'all. I'm Deronda with Foods 101. Leave me a comment, give me thumbs up, share the video, and I'll catch y'all next time.